Welcome to Parent 911. I'm Christy, and today we're going to talk about a household notebook. If you've heard about a household notebook, it's usually something that's for the babysitter, which in normal circumstances is very true. But when you have special needs children or you have children that have any kind of behavioral issues, a household notebook becomes very, very important and critical to when you're leaving the house. The household notebook is just a regular notebook. You can pick a notebook at Walmart or any place you want to, and just label it household notebook. Whatever your name is, ours is Newman Household Notebook. And make sure you leave it in a place where a babysitter or grandparent or anybody who's watching your children will be in your home when you're not there can locate it. First thing we're going to talk about is page 1. This is how we've set up our notebook. Feel free to add whatever you want. First page is the emergency page. The emergency page is just a reminder, especially if you have young babysitters. If something were to happen in the event of an emergency, a child was choking or whatever, sometimes we don't always remember simple things like dial 911. So on the page, you'll notice that I put, in the event of emergency, call 911. I also place my number and my husband's number, our address, because if it has to have an EMS call, if it's a babysitter or grandparent, they may forget our address at that moment of crisis. And so therefore it's right in front of them, also our child's name and the age of our children at that time. Page 2 are our emergency contacts. On the emergency contacts, that basically means those people are the people that we're going to call if they can't get a hold of my husband or me at that time. Also for us, whenever we go out of town, those emergency contacts are people that have been notified ahead of time that we're going to be out of town, and I have made sure that they are going to be in town and are clearly ready to step in if we need help for whatever reason while we're out of town. Otherwise, it's just a basic list of people, kind of like you would give a daycare or whatnot. The next page is our doctor's page. Again, if somebody else is having to go to the hospital in place of us while we're trying to make it there or whatnot, they have the name of our pediatrician and our dentist in case they need it for whatever reason, because you just never know. The next page for us, we start talking about individual children. It's very helpful, especially if it's a new babysitter or if it's somebody that's going to be kind of nannying for you for a couple of days while you go out of town, to give as much specific information as you can so that they have all the needed and necessary information for themselves, because you want this event to be successful, to go as smoothly as possible. So for us, it starts with our child's name at the top of the page, and then I give very brief points. You can read through those points there if you'd like, just so that if they are taking the information home and looking at it at home before they come to our house, they know my child and they know exactly what I'm expecting of my children. So each child has their own page. For us, because they both have behavioral issues, mood disorders, I definitely try to put down triggers, things that may cause a trigger. I also include their sensitivities and how to handle it in the event of a meltdown. In my notebook, we also have a crisis plan. In the event that our child that tends to explode has an explosion and we're not there, it's really important that whoever's watching our child knows the plan and knows to follow the routine, because the routine is what keeps things moving. Otherwise, it gets very out of control and somebody could get hurt. In ours, I just give them what the warning signs are, follow these steps, continuing it, and literally telling them what to say and when to say it. Because again, if it's a younger babysitter or it's somebody who's not familiar with our children that's watching our children, in the event of a crisis, they have something to look at and to turn to. And yes, it's like reading a script, but it's better than nothing and then panicking because they don't know what to do. The next page for us is our schedule. It's really important, especially with special needs kids, that they have a schedule. And my schedule is pretty specific. It changes, give or take, if it's somebody who's watching our kids for several days or it's somebody who's just watching our kids for the evening. That schedule obviously changes, but I make sure that I leave a schedule with them and they follow the schedule that we've set up, because our kids can't afford to be loosey-goosey with routine. It has to be pretty structured at this point. I also write down the bedtime routine, very specifically who's doing what when. We only have 2 children, but with those 2 children, it's very easy for one of our children to be off task and you're trying to have the other one take a shower or take a bath and get ready, and my other child is running around the house crazy. So we've put a plan into place for him where child number 2 is in his bedroom with 2 toys until it's time for him to take a shower. We only allow 1 child in the bathroom at a time. So this keeps things from blowing up, 2 children getting in front of each other, and then it causes confrontation, and then our nighttime routine is just completely exploded. So this makes it easier, but it's also important for whoever's there, in case the children are trying to manipulate the situation into how they want it. They can read the bedtime routine and say, oh, nope, it says you're supposed to go here and you're supposed to go there. It just keeps things the same. I also have the medication schedule. I'm very specific about that. If it's somebody who's nannying for us and they have several days of medications, I also have a medication log so that they keep track of the medication they gave, which child, and what time. There should be no question when somebody else is watching your child and having to manage meds. There should be no question about medication. I don't ever want to leave town and know that something happened that could have been prevented just because I didn't do everything necessary to prepare them for medications. It's more than just Tylenol and, for a headache or ibuprofen. These are serious medications that can cause serious problems if given at the wrong time or in combination with the wrong drugs. So everything needs to be accounted for. Maybe that comes from my teaching background and doing field trips, but that's what we do in our home. If it's something where it's just a babysitter for the evening and they just have to get bedtime meds, I simply go ahead and pull those meds and put them in a Ziploc bag with each child's name on it and at what time they're given. And I walk through it with the babysitter before we leave so that they know. So each child has their own medication schedule. We do have pets, so I have the dog routine. I have the cat routine. Both of our boys are very familiar with the routines for the pets and can be very helpful in this situation. It gives them something to do. But if it's a new sitter or somebody who's not familiar, then it's important for them to have the instructions as well. Along with the pet information, I have a contact person that is for emergencies. Should something happen to one of the animals, the dog swallows a Lego and we can't get it out, or whatever, that they know where to go, who to call in the event of emergency. I also put a copy of our general household rules. Sometimes kids like to manipulate babysitters, as you know. Well, mommy said we can do this, and daddy lets us do this. And these rules are things that I know that the kids are going to try to get away with. One is like no running through the house. Our kids love to slide around on their socks on the floor and, try to run through the house. And this allows that the babysitter can look at the rules and say, oh, I'm sorry. Mommy says no running through the house. And the rules are the same. So they're not guessing at what our household rules are. They're right there. We also have our household rules posted in our home. But this allows the babysitter to have no issues. There's no room for failure at this point. There might be some mistakes, but we're trying to set that person up for success, not for them to just have a horrible time and it be all done. So that's the extent of our household notebook. Obviously, some of you would need different things in your household notebook, but like I said, it's important to have a household notebook for any family, but especially special needs families, if you're going to have people in your home that are going to watch your kids while you're not there. If you're going to somebody else's house, think about making a notebook that's for somebody else's house, that everybody can be on the same page, because with special needs children, it's really important that everybody's on the same page. We can't just go willy-nilly. That's where accidents happen, that's where conflict happens, and that's where not everybody's having a good time, and you're leaving that place in tears because you can't understand why your kids weren't behaving, or the babysitter's leaving in tears because they don't ever want to come back because your kids were so out of control. Always have a plan, always have a notebook, think through things, and it will make life so much easier, and it will make things go so much better, and it'll make you feel better about leaving your home and not having to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a text, in 2 minutes because something's going to happen. The boys are going to, tape up the babysitter, and the babysitter is going to be calling, crying, saying, come home. So that's just my opinion, but this is Parent to Parent, and I'm Christy, and I hope you've enjoyed the video, and hopefully you can let me know if you have any extra pages that you've put in your notebook that you'd like to share. Thanks. See you next time.